Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at how Brexit is being presented in the mainstream media again, as I tend to do now each Friday, with a look at how the Daily Telegraph have attacked Starmer, the anti-Brexiteer, in an article that may shed light onto why it is that Labour is reluctant to oppose some aspects of Brexit. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the Daily Telegraph, for the avoidance of doubt, is a pro-Brexit, pro-conservative paper, and one that has actually been trying to do Boris Johnson a major solid this last week, as it's the only mainstream media that hasn't splashed the corruption scandal all over its front pages. It's not been there at all. I mean, I don't think there's been a single day when it was on there, when even the Mail and the Express were hammering Johnson. Now, earlier in this week, I talked about Labour's latest Brexit statement on its policy, their Make Brexit Work slogan. But never mind the wording, which I hope changes. It's really the policy behind it. And Starmer said that Labour would not be seeking to rejoin the EU. I don't want to repeat the whole video I did. You can check it out yourself. But the point is that Labour are not talking about moving on in the same way as the Conservatives. They've said that they want closer alignment with the EU. Well, what is closer alignment but the first step in rejoining the EU? All Starmer's statement means is that Labour will not seek to rejoin, when it forms a government, hopefully in the next Parliament. Political policy promises cover that Parliament. Impossible to rejoin in the next Parliament. But some people are not convinced. Well, if you're not convinced by my logic, well, let's see if the Telegraph can convince you. See, they've run this headline this week. Sir Keir Starmer, the self-styled bastion of democracy who made no fewer than 48 attempts to block Brexit. Now, let me be very clear, and I cannot imagine that too many people would disagree with this one. The reason that we are where we are politically in Britain is down to how things are presented in the media. You can even see this in the national split. Attitudes in Scotland vary quite a bit with those in England on Brexit, for example. And you can see that reflected in the media. The way things are presented in the Scottish media and the English media is very different to, even for the same newspapers. They'll carry different headlines, different articles and so on. People are sheeple. Most follow the crowd. But how do you know which way the crowd is going in a society of 67 million people? You let the media tell you. It is no accident that the Daily Express frequently posts articles that's just purely comments from their readers. They do an article on a thing and then they do another article that shows a load of comments backing up a particular point of view. It's deliberate. It's their way. It's the way that the newspaper convinces their readers that a majority think a particular way. In fact, not just a majority, that everyone thinks this way, like it's a universal truth. And so you should think that way if you want to fit in. The mainstream media are the mainstream media because they are very adept at understanding their public. And another point I need to make, in order to remove the Conservatives from power, you need to get a certain section of the voter base to change its mind. It's not about getting a majority to support you or some policy. That happened in 2019. Over half of all votes cast were cast for parties that committed themselves to not taking us out of the EU without another referendum with Remain as an option. A majority voted for that. Did we get it? Did we bollocks? So it's not about getting a majority of people on your side. It's about getting a relatively small number of people in key areas. These are the swing voters, and the media target them. Basically what I'm saying is that Labour needs to appeal to the people who read the Mail, the Express, the Sun, the Telegraph. The owners and editors of those media want those readers to vote Tory. When the Telegraph is trying to push Starmer the Remainer, Starmer the Rejoiner, Starmer the anti-Brexiteer, they are doing so because the label is not a vote winner, as some people seem to think. Quite the reverse. There's this view, which I hope fades before the next election. All Starmer has to do is just rejoin, and he will magically catapult Labour into power and we can get started. And it's certainly true, and I've said as much myself. We need Labour to be able to fight on a hill that the Conservatives won't even touch. We need them to show how they are very different, and Brexit was the obvious way to do that. And I still would like to see them attacking some of the consequences of the way the Conservatives have implemented Brexit, if not Brexit itself. But this idea that all Starmer has to do is identify himself as a rejoiner and people will flock to his cause, as if Starmer was some closet Brexiteer or was pandering to the Lexiteers, which neither is true. Starmer is very obviously pro-European. That would never have even been in question until last year. And the Lexiteers hate his guts. And he will never bring them on board, ever. Not only that, but they're a spent force in the Labour Party now anyway, and I barely see them these days on Labour forums. And when I do, they don't exactly get the support they were hoping for. And this Telegraph article details his voting record on Brexit, how he worked to derail Brexit, how he voted against post-Brexit policies like the immigration bill. The majority of the viewers of this video would read this article and think, hey, this Starmer guy sounds like my man. Yet many are attacking him, for making the Labour Party a Brexit party now. It's just a Brexit party now. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's just that he is paying attention to an imperative of politics. You achieve nothing without power, and you don't get power without being in alignment with those whose votes you need. I've said right from the start, I don't care what policies Labour push as their main campaign policies, as long as it's coordinated and as long as it's designed to appeal to voters, the voters they need to get them into power. Labour in opposition can achieve nothing other than getting into government. So everything it should do should be designed around that aim. Starmer isn't saying Brexit is fine. He's just not saying that it was a bloody stupid idea. He's not saying that we have to continue along our Brexit path, just that a return is not on the cards right now. Now, as I said before, I'm not saying he's getting the tactics exactly right. I'm not saying he's now surrounded by strategic geniuses and it's all this long-term plan. Don't you worry, it'll all come good at the end. We were told that during Corbyn's time. Didn't work out well. I'm not buying it this time either. But he is behaving tactically, which is what I've wanted Labour leaders to do for the past decade. Behave tactically. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. At least you've tried. Forget about what you want to achieve in government. You're not in government. Focus on what you need to do to form that government. Most of the party's policies are worthless because even if they displace the Tories, they won't be able to form a majority government. So it won't be a case of even if they displace the Tories and form a government that, all right, we can now implement all these policies. No, you won't. You won't have a majority to do so. So when people moan at him for dropping this policy or that policy down in priority, what's the point? He can't achieve them anyway. As if saying, oh, we should do this will suddenly make it happen. If those policies don't cross over with the policies of the other parties who Labour will need to support them in government, it's not happening. The Brexit process was a very bruising time for the country. And even those who did not want to leave do not want to repeat the process in reverse. We're not ready as a country to do that. And when we are, the EU have also made it clear that they will not consider any application until we can show that we are completely committed. That basically means that there does not exist the possibility for another party to win the next election and derail the whole thing again. And you cannot ever say that while you have the chance for the Tories to come right back into power with Brexiteers still in control of the party and wreck it all again. The Telegraph is a Tory paper. It knows which buttons to push to target those swing voters. They have chosen to label Starmer as the guy who did everything he could to wreck Brexit in order to convince those same people that he is a secret rejoiner who would undo the entire process as soon as he gets his hands on the reins of power. Later, they will also push his need to ally with the Lib Dems and the SNP, because that's brilliant. They also want the same thing. This is a narrative that will work to repel key voters. The Telegraph know it, Labour strategists know it, Starmer knows it. It's just a shame that not all rejoiners know it. Which is not to say that we should sit back and just accept every policy as this genius policy and just bide our time. I spoke at the start of the week about what my concern is. People who say that they won't vote Labour if they don't change their Brexit stance. Oh, if you don't adopt this stance, I'm not voting Labour. Oh, so you're voting Tory, are you then? No, I'll vote for my local crank party. So Tory then. Because in any given constituency, you have two choices. There's the Conservative candidate or whomever is best placed to challenge the Conservative candidate. That is mostly, not always, but it is mostly the Labour candidate. If you don't vote at all, or you vote for anyone else, you are supporting the Tory candidate and a hard Brexit. It's really all there is to it. It's not very nice, not very comfortable. People don't like it. We've got a bad system. Change the system before you start deciding who you want to vote for. Until we've got a different system, then what we vote for is not what we want, but what we least oppose. You know, but what I don't criticise people for is wanting to change Labour's policies. That's fine. If you don't agree with Labour's policies, absolutely, you can change that. And there are a few that I would like them to change. But you don't achieve it by threatening to support the extreme Tory Brexit on Twitter or Facebook. You do it by being a member of Labour if you want to change Labour's policies, or the Lib Dems if you want to change Lib Dems' policies. If, in the case of Labour, also if you're a member of an affiliated union, because they hold immense power. And you do it by being actively involved. It's no good just being a member and voting every now and then. You need to be actively involved in policy making at whatever level you feel you have the time to spare. Don't do it by enabling the next Tory government. And it's easy for commentators like me, and others, to criticise the party's policies. Oh, yeah, if I were in charge, I would do this, and it would all work like a charm. You know, with my zero experience of running or even advising a national campaign. But apparently I know better than those who do have experience. And yes, sometimes the strategists are boneheads and it goes badly wrong, like agreeing to a general election where you are guaranteed to lose a load of MPs. But the thing about commentators is we're like backseat drivers. If the car crashes, it won't be our intervention that failed, it'll be the way it was all done. Well, if you did, it wasn't doing what I said that went wrong, you just did it wrong. It's like the Brexiteers now complaining that Brexit's fine. It was all absolutely sound. It was just cocked up by Johnson. Johnson failed us. Whereas those actually making the decisions in Labour are conscious of the price of failure. Sure, I would rather they would be more robust in attacking certain things, but there's also a sense where it can be better to be cautious than reckless at times. I am very reckless. But in the meantime, note that the pro-Brexit media thinks it gets mileage from labelling Starmer as someone who wants to wreck Brexit. Even at a time when the consequences are hitting us hard. This article was in the last week. The consequences of Brexit are here and getting worse. And yet still, they think there's mileage in labelling Starmer as anti-Brexit. And consider that maybe they know something we don't. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.